Welcome to this week's video where I discuss what I believe is important for individual investors to consider over the next 5 to 10 business days. I want to discuss this idea or notion that September is here. Does that mean a pullback is around the corner? And if so, diversification. Diversification will be key to your portfolios going forward. And lastly, the Delta variant and COVID making a resurgence in the United States. Companies starting to talk about how their numbers are getting a little softer, not seeing as much profitability as they saw earlier in the year. Recently, I've had a number of conversations with clients and investors in general, and they're worried about what they're seeing for the month of September. We've seen a number of negative days to start the month off, and everybody knows September tends to be a bit of a soft month or a more challenging month. Is a market correction around the corner, they're asking? And that's a difficult question and one that I don't think anybody can answer. However, in my opinion, having a market correction or going through a market correction is very normal in the course of a year. We should see 1 to 2 corrections in any given year. The good news is we haven't seen one in almost a full year since last November. So yes, it is possible we could see a bit of a pullback in the markets, but by no means do I believe this market is going to stop where it is today. I think we will see higher highs down the road. And I think heading into the end of the year, we will see higher markets. We just may have to get by some bumpier times over the next month or two. But I think some good times will continue, especially as long as interest rates remain low. Diversification. We talk about having a diversified portfolio all the time and how important it is to your returns and to protect your money. It is the cheapest way to protect one's portfolio. So I believe over the next month or two, when we do see some choppier markets due to seasonality, perhaps the Federal Reserve talking about tapering or perhaps even rising interest rates maybe next year, diversification will be key. And I don't mean diversify based on asset class. So I'm not talking necessarily about equities or stocks versus bonds or fixed income. I'm talking about diversifying your portfolio within the equity component. So making sure you're diversified across many different sectors, both growth and maybe even some for income, both aggressive a little bit and maybe a little bit more defensive. I think that is the best way to defend your portfolio over the next month or two if markets are going to be quite choppy. COVID-19, a word that I thought by now I wouldn't be saying much anymore. But here we are again in September 2021, and we're talking about a COVID resurgence, the Delta variant, and how it affects corporations, different companies in different sectors, but mainly companies in the hospitality sector, the airline sector, restaurants, retail in general. A lot of companies have indicated that over the next few months, they're cautiously optimistic, or they're a little bit negative or a little bit more negative than where they were earlier in the year, not seeing as much growth potential or as much in the way of sales or top line revenue growth. So what I think individual investors need to do is look at these companies. Do these companies represent opportunity, or should you be selling these names? And I think that's where your homework needs to be done. I think there will be a number of names that you could get into or add more money to on a dip if they do say that in the short term or in the near term, they're going to struggle a little bit. But there'll be a number of names that perhaps time to get out of because of this reason as well. So I think individual investors will really need to work hard, do their homework to decide should you be a buyer of some of these names or a seller in the coming weeks.